Welcome to Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast.
We are two Southern sisters rewatching The Hills and chatting about it for your entertainment.
I am Susan, and I'm a 30-something photographer.
I'm Jem, and I'm a member of the Holograms.
Today we will be discussing Season 2, Episode 9, New Year, New Friends.
Susan, I'm so sad because our last show we did together, we were in the same room at the same time, and now we're back to utilizing technology. Wah, wah. The time will come again, though. We'll be back together soon.
I hope so, because that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and we loved all of the nice feedback that we got on the episode from all of our listeners. You know what I realized, Susan, is that we've kind of entered a new era of The Hills. We're living in a post-he's a sucky person world.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, Jem. A whole new world.
Oh my gosh, we talked about Disney 2 episodes in a row. What is happening to us? Is this becoming a Disney podcast?
No.
Oh my gosh, did you see on our Facebook that one of our listeners explained who all the different princes were after we asked the question in the last episode about who is Prince Charming? She spelled it out.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for explaining that to us. It was super helpful. All right, Jem, let's get into the episode play by play. We start out this episode with Audrina and Lauren are shopping at Tracy Ross, and they're talking about their New Year's plans.
And I love all of the dresses in there, especially the one that Lauren tries on. It's kind of a beaded lavender dress. It was so pretty.
It was really pretty. So Lauren's friends are coming from Laguna to visit, including Lo, who we used to see all the time in Laguna Beach.
I think this is a scene where they mentioned something about Jen Bunny is the reason why Lo and Lauren weren't friends for 2 years and had a big fight. As the resident expert on Laguna Beach, do you have any insight into what happened and why Lo and Lauren broke up?
No, that wasn't really a part of the show that I remember.
So it might have happened in between.
Yeah, so I think it happened in between or off the screen. Now remember, they really only focused on a few things in Laguna Beach because they usually liked the drama that had to do with boys, and the episodes were so short, it wasn't like they really even covered a lot of everything. It was just mostly drama between Lauren and boys and Kristen, so I don't know what it's about.
I'll just have to do some Googling later and figure it out, or maybe Ashley can fill us in on that too.
So Lauren and Lo have been friends since 3rd grade, so that's one of those long-standing relationships, just like she had with Jen Bunny. Then Lauren starts talking about she thinks that Heidi's going to hang out with Spencer for New Year's, and then they giggle and say that Spencer's not allowed in their car or limo, which I had to roll my eyes at that because it's really, it's New Year's Eve. Push it aside and just try to have fun. Don't create drama. If you want Heidi to hang out with you on New Year's, I mean, your boyfriend's usually a package deal, Lauren.
Spencer, you can't sit with us in our limo.
Exactly. That's how it felt to me. So that kind of irritated me.
There's just a war on Spencer. It's kind of like the war on Christmas, war on drugs, other wars that are going on. It's a war on Spencer. And let me take this moment, Susan, to talk about Spencer a little bit, because we might be running into a problem on Words Unspoken Hills podcast. I have started religiously following Spencer on Snapchat, and I also listened to an awesome podcast called The Lady Gang. They did an interview with Spencer, and it kind of made me love him a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Jim. I am going strictly off of the show, which I understand, as he said many times in the past 10 years, is that he just did a lot of that stuff for ratings. But at the end of the day, he still did all that stuff to Lauren. He still destroyed a friendship. And even though he was doing it for ratings, it was still a real life thing that he did. So I will not ever condone anything that he did. But that doesn't make him like an evil person. He just did things wrong so he could make millions of dollars.
And it worked.
I mean, Lauren kind of won out in the end, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. And so then Lauren says, I hope it's better than last year. Now, Jim, let's talk about what happened last year.
How could we ever forget New Year's Eve last year?
I mean, Lauren probably wants to forget it and probably wants to pretend that never happened because it was pretty terrible with the close to midnight run of Jason through the streets of LA, cigarettes hanging from his lips so he could kiss her at midnight after being a total jerk.
In a parking garage.
Ew.
Ew.
So really, Lauren's right. There's nowhere to go but up from there.
That is a fact. Like, not getting a New Year's kiss would be better than that drunken JWall smoky attack in the parking deck.
So gross.
It sounds like something from a police report.
So then we head to the softball fields where, of course, Whitney is playing softball.
Because she can do everything, and she's perfect and well-rounded and amazing.
Jem, my notes say, Whitney is playing softball, Lauren and Audrina are watching Whitney because she is so well-rounded and can do everything.
Ew! We've got to get a third co-host. This is bad.
Our favorite Twitter person, Naomi, offered to be our third person. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, and it made me chuckle. I was like, yeah, she knows we need a third.
Naomi, we do need you. I mean, we need you for a lot of reasons every day, and you're just the greatest, most wonderful fan ever. But being the third host of this show, you are welcome anytime. We just got to figure out the technology.
Not even the technology, more like the schedules. It's hard enough to get two people to coordinate their schedules. I cannot imagine having three. That would just be such a nightmare. But anyway, we're at the softball fields, and Audrina's like blankly staring at the field. It doesn't seem like she knows a lot about softball, Jem.
Audrina's like, what is sportsing?
So Whitney says she kissed 3 guys on New Year's Eve last year, and she calls herself a slut. Jem, what do you have to say about this? And hashtag Jem and Susan for social justice.
Jem and Susan for social justice moment is happening earlier and earlier in every show, I fear. I hope this does not become a trend. But when we have to say it, we have to say it. So Whitney said that she kissed 3 boys the same night, and it was the sluttiest moment of her life. First of all, you girls out there and boys, you kiss as many girls and boys as you want if it's all consensual and everyone's into it. Secondly, slut is a social construct, Susan, and we do not believe in using that word at Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast.
Absolutely, Jem. So Audrina says they're going to have a good New Year's Eve. Now, Jem, that is a jinx to say that. So let's hope that doesn't come back to bite Audrina.
It won't. It's going to be the best New Year's Eve ever, and there'll be no drama. And quick technology alert. Lauren's using a BlackBerry, and it was like one of the actual like real BlackBerries, not like the crazy looking one that they started out with. And the nostalgia came flooding back, and you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember the intervention group that you and our friends? So Susan and our friends ran this like vicious campaign against me, Stop Jem from Crackberrying, and there was a Facebook page every time they caught me like on my BlackBerry and like calling me out and accusing me of using it too much.
Jem, the funny thing is that Facebook group still exists.
Oh my gosh, we have to find it.
So then we head to Milk. Spidey is shopping for a dress. Have you ever noticed, Jem, when Spencer calls Heidi endearments, they always sound super condescending?
Yes. Like he's talking to a child.
Yeah, my dear. But he doesn't say it in like an affectionate way. It's more like a, I am talking down to you, woman.
I think that their dynamic is very much like he's the one in charge. He makes all the plans. You know, he plots all the next steps. And that goes for on screen as well as off. And I think she's comfortable being in that role. But I do think Spencer's trying to come off as a little bit more controlling than he probably really was at that point in time. Like he was like, this is the total, you know, villain persona I'm going to have. Not to be confused with princess persona.
Jem, I feel like you're becoming a Spencer apologist.
I am. I warned you. I didn't try to sneak this in. I didn't try to be subtle about it. I gave you a disclaimer up front about what I've been doing in 2017 that might mess up my Spencer bashing, which actually for this episode will still be pretty bad because this was a rough one.
Spidey is going to go to dinner and then to Area with friends.
And Spencer says, without the posse.
Now, Spencer, you know the posse will be there. And Heidi's like, I made up with them, which I guess occurred off camera. And he says, I'm done hanging out with them. And Heidi says, she means a lot to me. I want to hang out with my 2 favorite people on New Year. He is putting her in a really hard situation. He's being selfish. On New Year's, you always hang out with your friends. You don't have to have this exclusive thing with just your boyfriend. I feel like he's putting her in a rough situation.
I think so. so too, but she also knows that Lauren doesn't want Spencer there either. So she's between a rock and a hard place. I did notice she says 2006 was a hard year for our friendship. And I was trying to think, what was 2006 a hard year for me? And it was probably Lauren and Heidi's friendship. That was probably my pressing concern in those days.
So Heidi tells him that he's being unfair to her. And he says, I don't want to be anything unfair to Heidi. I am a very fair person. Jim, have you also noticed that Spencer talks about Heidi to Heidi, but calls her Heidi? Like, I don't think, it's not called third person or first person, but it's like he's talking to her and he uses her name Heidi a million times.
What does Heidi want? Like, where does Heidi want to go for dinner tonight?
Right, instead of like, what do you want? And so I decided that he's doing that to remind everybody watching what her name is, so to create the more name recognition.
Spencer's no slouch. He knew what was up even in these days, and as you know, from a plotting and planning angle, he was doing a pretty good job compared to some of them that were just sort of floundering through reality TV world.
Audrina, yeah. I know you're talking about Audrina right now. She just doesn't seem to know what to do until later. No. She gets there. She does
get there. And I can't wait till we do.
And Jim, Spencer announces that he and Heidi should move in together.
Ugh. And her face is just like, meh.
At this point, we know they haven't been together a year because a year ago, Jordan and Heidi were together. So, oh my gosh, when you're 20 years old, how old are they? 20, 21? And you're talking about moving in with someone that you've been with for less than a year? That seems a little hasty to me. Don't you think so?
I do. I mean, these young kids, they just need to take their time.
But then she says something weird. She's like, I have a commitment to Lauren. I assume she means Elise. But it just made me laugh that she voiced it as a commitment. And Spencer's like, you and Lauren aren't even best friends anymore. And you can tell that really upsets Heidi to think about. But she definitely seemed very taken aback about them moving in together. So I assume this is not a conversation that they've had off camera.
No, I think he sprung it on her. And I think it really hurt her feelings when he was like, kind of, who are we kidding? Y'all aren't best friends anymore. Like, he finally spoke the truth about their relationship.
I was about to say, he's 100% correct. They're not best friends anymore. But Heidi allowed that to happen by letting Spencer poison their friendship as well. So it's really her fault.
She chose. And he's a sucky person. He's a sucky person.
She chose her choice. So then we head to the Warren Trachome salon, and the girls are all there getting their hair done. And it's kind of an awkward little scene because there's so much unspoken things swirling in the air, and there's just awkwardness. But Lauren,
is it words unspoken in the hair salon?
Yes, Jim. Yes, it is. So Lauren announces she met a guy last night. He's from Colorado, and she proudly announces that she asked him out. She called him and she set up, and she's just so proud of herself. And that is, you know, for a 20 or 21-year-old girl, that's a huge thing to do, to have that confidence. But it's funny because she seems to enjoy the fact that he's just visiting and he'll be gone soon. So I found that hilarious.
He's not a real boy. He's like a Pinocchio. He's a fake boy, and he'll be gone soon. And she harps on that a lot throughout the episode.
She said he's not her type, but that's a good thing. Have you met my type?
And Heidi just gets like more and more jealous of the banter between Audrina and Lauren. But I also feel like Lauren's really pushing the whole like, Audrina and me are best friends, and like trying to make Heidi feel left out. I guess her angle is like, remember this used to be us.
I think so, which is understandable. I think I felt like that with friendships were dying. It makes you sad. It's just part of life, though. It just happens. Like, you don't usually have the same friends throughout your whole life. I mean, you might have some, like we have some that we're friends with since we were babies, but you go through different friendship stages, you grow out of it. It's just like a natural part of life. But
you don't really know that, I think, when you're the age they were in the show. You try to like hang on, or something's like really wrong if a friendship does fall apart, whereas now, as we all know, and Lauren knows and everybody else knows, it's just, you know, stage of life that you go through, and it's okay. You're not required to stay BFF with every single person your whole life.
Oh yeah, you definitely don't know when it's going on when you're that age. That's true. Also, though, at this scene where just Heidi is looking so jealous and sad, I also think this is probably another creative editing moment when she was just getting her hair done and looking off into the distance, and they pieced it together to make it look like. So I think there's a little little bit of creative editing there, Jim.
Well, they did a really good job on that part because I bought it.
So then we head to Dolce, to Heidi and Spencer's romantic New Year's Eve date, in which he romantically declares, "I just want to take you home right now."
Like, oh, okay, well, I just spent 8 hours getting my hair and makeup done, so we're going to be here in front of this camera for at least another hour.
Also, Jim, you know the real reason why he wants to take her home is so they won't go to Area.
So that they can roll without the posse?
Exactly. And then he proceeds to say, "Oh, you have another boyfriend named Lauren Conrad." Oh, Spencer, what is wrong with you?
Is there anything more annoying than Spidey being on a date together and all they do is talk about Lauren? It just makes me want to, like, punch myself in the face. I'm like, talk about something else. What happened to that dog, Bella?
Every time. They do it every time. And I'm sure, once again, I'm sure they talk about other things, but that's what the show is about. But still, I'm like, y'all spend way too much time talking about Lauren Conrad.
Well, I think Spencer uses Lauren as a bonding mechanism between himself and Heidi. He's pushing out the closest person to her and making it an us against the world type situation, which is a problem that a lot of relationships get into. That's never a good situation to be in. But what do we know? Spidey's been married longer than either of us have.
That is not true. I've been married longer than them by like a couple of months.
Well, okay, a couple of months.
But which wedding are you talking about, Jim? I don't know when they count their actual legal anniversary, so who knows? But we'll talk about that later in the year.
And also, you remember that I was not watching The Hills when they got married. I missed it, I guess. So when I see it for the show, it will be my first time seeing it in my whole life.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? You haven't watched it since then? For some reason, I thought you went through and watched almost all the episodes when we started doing this.
No, I watched these. Like, I went through all of these in a quick binge once we started doing our show, but I did not make it that far, so I don't know how it happens.
Well, I haven't watched the final season, but I've watched everything else.
So Spencer said something about, on that, remember I told you about how I listened to that Lady Gang podcast and they interviewed Spencer? He said something about there being like a sit-down reunion and everybody from the cast is in except for one holdout.
Oh, awesome. It's probably Lauren, though, and they're not going to do it if she's not in it.
It's got to be her.
It's got to be her, yeah. Who else wouldn't do it? Who else wouldn't do it that they wouldn't just go ahead and do it? I don't blame her, though. Do you?
No, I don't blame her either.
Because if you sign a contract, I'm sure there's something in there where they can do whatever they want. So they're going to try to do something like ambush her or something like that. And she doesn't need it. She just did the special. That's all she needs. So I don't think that will ever happen.
Well, Spidey needs it, and that's why they're so gung-ho. But I just found it interesting that if Spencer is telling the truth that there's only one holdout, then that's crazy to me to think that, like, Whitney Port and Lo and Audrina and Brody would probably do anything. He doesn't care. But I just found that amazing that, like, if that's really true, that Lauren's the only one.
Well, who knows who he's counting, though, in that. Like, people like Lo or even Brody might not be part of who they consider, like, the main cast. So who knows? I really wish they would do it, though, and honestly, I think people would still watch it without Lauren. I just don't think MTV would ever do it without Lauren.
No, but it would still get great ratings, and people would be going crazy about it, and they could still, talk about a lot of subjects without sullying Lauren's good name. How amazing would that be?
That would be really great, but I don't think it will ever happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure she said before she would never do a reunion show, so.
You know what this panel would be a great addition to? Hashtag the Hills Convention, currently being planned on a Twitter account near you.
That's all you, Jim. I've been pretty absent from Twitter lately. Okay, back to the episode. Spencer and Heidi start talking about moving in together, and she tells him she thinks if she moves out of the apartment with Lauren, it will compromise their friendship, which, honestly, for anyone who's watching this, kind of knows their friendship has already been compromised. It is hanging by, like, the thinnest thread of all time. Like, it's barely there now.
It's there in name only at this point. Like, oh, she's my best friend. Oh, she's my best friend. And it's just words at this point. There's no actions at all.
And Heidi right now is trying to keep everybody happy. And she's just miserable herself because she can't keep people happy because Lauren has put like a line in the sand about Spencer. And Spencer keeps egging Lauren on. And I feel like they're just not going to come to a compromise. So she needs to really choose what she wants. Because obviously neither Spencer or Lauren are going to compromise at this point, I feel like.
He's a sucky person.
So then we head to the Hillside Villas, and the girls are getting ready for New Year's, and we get to see Lo.
Yay, Lo. I'm going to be Team Lo here for a while, and I'm sure that will change as time goes by. But I think Lo is smart, articulate. I don't think she's one of these girls that's just like spending all her time thinking about being the most gorgeous girl in the room. Like, she wants to be a well-rounded reality show character. And at this point in time, I love her. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you posted. The Lo scale is 1 to 10, and right now Lo and I are at like a 9. So we'll see how it goes.
When I first watched this back when it was on, I loved Lo. She was one of my favorite characters. I really loved her. That did change later, but at this point in time, I really loved her.
Where are you on the Lo scale?
I would say it an 8.
Okay. So we're in a good place with her right now. For now.
I love her makeup. It looks so pretty.
Yeah, and her hair's awesome for New Year's. Yeah. Like, she has that updo kind of an old-fashioned look. I like it.
Lauren says she's spending New Year's with the people most important to us. She always manages to get a little shade in there, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lo says she really needs a New Year's kiss, and Audrina says she's never had one. What?
Come on, Audrina. You're like the prettiest, cutest person. And by the way, she's wearing some awesome, like, snake earrings. Did you notice that? It was like kind of like curvy, long, dangly snake earrings, because Audrina's so rock and roll, and I love her style. But yeah, come on, boys back in the OOs. Freaking kiss Audrina at midnight. Jeez, she's beautiful.
So then Lo asks where Heidi is, and the girls start asking about Spencer, and I have to say, I'm kind of impressed with how the girls handle it. They say, you're going to have to form your own opinion on Spencer, and they don't really say anything about it.
Which I absolutely love.
I absolutely loved it and found it so interesting, and I wondered why.
But they know that he's going to dig his own grave. They know they don't have to do a darn thing.
That's true. So then we head to Area. Oh my gosh, those girls look so cold getting out of the car and walking in. Did you notice that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Audrina had her leather jacket in hand when they left Hillside Villas, but then when they got out of their car, she had no jacket and was like shivering and shaking, which again, as we all know, is a Southern girl's worst fear, being cold on a night out. And so I had my whole like, you kids, get off my lawn and put on your jacket. You'll catch your death.
And of course, this is California. If it was New Year's Eve in the South, we would truly be freezing.
Yeah, but you know, we've all been guilty.
And so, Jem, we meet Lauren Conrad's date. Now, there is a 100% chance that you had an entirely different reaction when this person came up on the screen than I did, because you probably don't know who this is.
Wait, what do you mean who he is? Like, okay. He's somebody?
Yes.
Okay, well, before you tell me, let me tell you what I think about him.
Okay.
I was surprised when I saw him on the screen because I didn't remember there being, like, a handsome guy besides Brody on the show, and JB, who is, like, a different kind of handsome. But this is exactly the kind of boy during the time of the Hills that I would have loved. He had the curly hair, like, just real handsome and tall and square-jawed and fun-looking. So I loved everything about him, but are you about to reveal something to me? Is it going to make any sense to me?
It won't make sense to you because, Jem, you are not a fan of ABC Family.
ABC Family? What is that?
Now, Jem, you know I love all those wonderful, sparkling ABC Family shows. Have you ever heard of a show called Baby Daddy?
No, I have not.
Well, it is a show on ABC Family, and Derek is Derek Thaler, and he's an actor, and he is in Baby Daddy.
Are you making this up?
I am not making this up. He really is an actor. So my question is, do you think he was trying to be an actor at this point, or he just happened to stumble on the Hills? I guarantee you they did a casting call, and that's how Lauren met him. I would bet you $200 that's what happened, because that's what happened in that book that Lauren wrote, one of those LA Candy books, where the producers did a casting call to find a date for her.
Yeah, and he is like super tall and really, really, really good looking and just very easy in front of the camera. You know, he doesn't have that awkwardness that some of those other guys had recently, but
because he's an actor. Okay, so listen to this. In the show Baby Daddy, he plays like a dumb character, so that's all I could think of when I saw him. I was like, just like, oh, he's so dumb, because he plays like the dumb guy, and he always takes his shirt off, or he'll walk out of the bathroom with the shirt. And on ABC Family, that all the live audiences or the audience or whatever are like, woo! and it's so cheesy. So that's all I could think of, Jim, when I was watching that. It just cracked me up. I'm like, I cannot believe that this was her date. And he's so young looking.
Aw, so we looked at the New Year's date in two very different ways.
As I said, I knew there was a 100% chance that you would not know anything about him.
And once again, you were correct about me.
I wonder why.
For having the same brain and saying the same things, we sure have different taste in television. But at least we can agree on the hills.
That's true. It's the one thing we agree on. Well, not really, but pretty much.
But pretty much, yeah.
So, Jim, what was that big bunch of balloons that were randomly in there?
I don't know, but I got really excited because we joke about flowers on here, but in real life, I am obsessed with balloons. I've managed to start rolling back the addiction lately because it's getting embarrassing. But Susan can attest to the fact that if there's any occasion, large or small, I will not attend it until I've purchased too many balloons to fit in my car. And I just love entering a party with balloons or decorating a party at my house with balloons. It makes all the difference. It's very important.
To you.
Oh my gosh, I love balloons so much. So these gold balloons, when Lauren was like, this is a little much, or whatever she said, this is overwhelming and excessive. And I was like, what? That is not enough balloons. It's only like 10.
So Spidey finally shows up after their dinner, and you can tell Lauren is quite toasted by that point. She's slurring her words and kind of doesn't seem to know what's going on. So Heidi quickly grabs some champagne and starts downing it to try to keep up. Lauren and Derek are dancing. Lo and Heidi are chatting, and Heidi decides for some reason to tell Lo about Spencer wanting to move in with her.
Oh, the fateful moment.
And then Jim, the most dramatic moment of the night, Spencer hands Lauren a sparkler, and she says, "Thank you."
And then when they do the whole sparkler scene in the countdown, it's as if everything's okay, everyone's friends, they're a happy crew. Anyone from the outside looking at them would just think like, oh, those kids are having fun. And for one sparkling moment, everything was okay.
I see what you did there. And Jim, I was so excited this moment. I'm like, everything is fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer and Lauren are going to be BFFs forever. Yay! All this cheering, sparklers everywhere. It's such a beautiful moment. Derek and Lauren kiss as a digital camera documents that moment. And I chuckled because I was like, oh my God, remember digital cameras? Or like point and shoot cameras. Of course, I still use a digital camera, but I use a large one in my photography business. But those little point and shoot Canon power shots, I was like, oh, of course. Audrina was the one taking the photo, though. And I was like, Audrina, you're supposed to be getting your own kiss. Why are you taking this?
She should have at least like chatted up a random boy in club.
So they don't show Spidey kissing. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did. I wrote it down. I said, did Spencer not kiss Heidi? ?
I'm sure he did. They just didn't show it for some reason. Maybe they wanted to create speculation about, oh, look, Lauren had a better New Year's Eve. Spidey's miserable, because that's kind of how it was trying to do.
Well, it worked on me, because I'm speculating.
So then they all drunkenly walk out to the car. I can't really figure out what's going on for a minute, but all of a sudden Spidey is just there, and we find out that everyone has left, and they didn't say goodbye, and Spencer is like great friends, and he starts harassing them and talking mean about them, but then he sees that Heidi is getting upset, and so I think he feels bad, and he's like, I love you, and starts being sweet to her, which was really nice, because he was like, oh, okay, she doesn't actually need that in this moment. She needs me to comfort her and be nice to her. And Jem, I think this is the point when Heidi decided to move in with him.
Probably so. I mean, why would the rest of the party goers want to leave with Heidi and Spencer when he's like haranguing Derek, baby daddy, Derek? He's like, yeah, Derek, take care of business, get that home and take care of it, or some just like totally obnoxious, rude thing. And I'm like, why do you act like they left you and didn't want to hang out with you when you were the one that was like catcalling them on the street?
And they had separate plans all night. Like, they went to dinner by themselves. They never had planned to be together. I think they were just mad because they couldn't ride in the limo. They didn't understand that Spencer was never going to be allowed to ride in the limo.
Yeah, Spencer, you can't sit with us in a limo.
You can't sit here.
The seat's taken. That was our Forrest Gump moment. Not to be confused with our Singing in the Rain moment in our last episode.
I don't know if anyone actually got that was from Singing in the Rain, because remember, it was only at the end of the episode, and I don't know if everyone has that same Singing in the Rain knowledge as we do, Jem.
If you don't have Singing in the Rain knowledge, Jem and Susan for Good Movies, that's going to be our new hashtag, informs you that it is one of the greatest films of all time. Gene Kelly is the hottest man of all time, and you should go watch that movie immediately.
Also, you need to watch Summer Stock just for the scene where Gene Kelly is dancing on a piece of paper and ripping it up. It is the greatest movie dancing scene of all time, and I love it.
He was a genius. Oh my gosh. Get it? Genius?
So then we head to Bolt House. Elodie and Heidi are doing busy work, stuffing envelopes and gossiping about New Year's. And Heidi is mad because she says that Lauren was hanging out with Audrina more than her, and she was the one who wanted to spend the night with her best friends, and why was she left out? And Elodie says they probably didn't want Spencer there. I mean, Elodie is awesome in this scene. I laugh so hard. She's just telling it like it is. She's being real.
She's the perfect foil for Heidi in this scene, because Heidi is so into her own situation, and she's just expecting, like when she's like, Spencer wants me to move in, and she does a little shoulder wiggle and like, you know, like, I'm getting married, and Elodie's like, really? Like, so skeptical, and it's everything that Heidi says, Elodie has like the opposite reaction of what Heidi wants her to have, but it's like the normal reaction.
Right.
Like the appropriate reaction, because, I mean, hashtag Team Elodie, what can I say? Love that girl.
Elodie's eye rolls are epically wonderful in this scene.
They are. We'll have to find some gifts and share them with the class.
Seriously, they're so good.
She's like, you guys are really so young still? AKA, you're so stupid.
I was yelling at the TV screen, listen to Elodie, Heidi! Listen to Elodie!
Because they still could have, like, dated for a few years and then got married, but then look at them now. Like, being friends with them on Snapchat, I'm friends with them in real life now, and they're so happy with their hummingbirds and their baby. So we went to the doctor the other day to check on the weight of Heidi's on Snapchat, Heidi and Spencer went to the doctor, and they were so funny. They were just, like, walking up and down the stairwell of the doctor's office, joking about the weight of the baby, and Heidi's like, I'm a healthy eater, and Spencer's like, no, you're not. And I was like, you're so normal now.
I am going to DM Spencer and tell him he needs to take out a restraining order on you, because I'm a little worried.
It goes down in the DM.
So then we head to Kelly's coffee shop. Lauren and Whitney are hanging out, and they're talking about Derek, and Lauren says she just wants someone who will go away, and that just made me laugh so hard. I feel like Jason she's still suffering from Jason after effects, because she really doesn't seem that interested in relationships right now. She wants a winter fling.
A winter fling sounds like a terrible dance that you would have to go to at school, and the decorations would be really bad. Susan, who are you taking in the winter fling? I don't know. Nobody's asked me yet. Oh.
Lauren says she spent New Year's with her 4 or 5 closest friends, and here comes some beautiful Whitney Port wisdom. We're all trying to find out who our true friends are.
And isn't that kind of what The Hills is all about?
I mean, really, we can just stop right now. We don't have to do any more episodes. We figured it out. We know the secret of The Hills. Thank you all so much for listening. This has been Words Unspoken, The Hills podcast. Jem and Susan signing off forever, as everything is now discovered and we have nothing else to talk about.
Series finale, thanks to Whitney Wisdom. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all, forever. The show is over.
JK, we wouldn't do that to you. We have so much more to talk about. I also know that Jem would never stop before we get to a certain Justin Bobby.
Oh, cannot wait.
So then we head to a restaurant that I can't pronounce.
I think it was Il Cucine. Il Cucine. I'll just say that. That's like my Borat pronunciation of the restaurant.
So this is a super fancy dinner, which, Jem, it seemed like it was much fancier than even their New Year's Eve dinner. They're all dressed up.
But I was upset when Heidi ordered a lemon drop martini.
I love a good lemon drop martini, Jem. Don't be a hater.
Why don't you just go pour a bucket of sugar in another bucket and pour a bucket of vodka on it and just drink out of the bucket?
That sounds amazing. So he tells Heidi that she's the one with all the baggage, as I assume he means Lauren.
The Lauren Conrad.
Why does he refer to her that way? Why does he refer to her that way? How rude. And then Spencer plays a fake violin.
I'm just glad he didn't say, you know what this is? The world's tiniest violin. Because I was like, if Spencer dares to explain this to Heidi, I will push him out of his chair.
And then Spencer says she's chosen Lauren over him, and he's being so rude to her in this scene. He made me really mad.
He was very threatening. I didn't like it.
And then all of a sudden, they're moving in together. Like, she never said yes she would, but they're talking like they are. And I'm like, wait a minute. At what point did she say, yes, I'm moving in? It was so weird.
She was just under his spell. I mean, this whole scene was stressful. Like, the animosity, like, running underneath the whole conversation, mixed in with the, I love you more. No, you don't. Like, all that was just, like, super stressful.
It was so annoying. So then we head to Cafe Sushi. Lo and Lauren are eating sushi, and I'm super jealous. Except when ginger juice went up Lo's nose. I was not jealous of that. That was funny. I loved that because it was like Lo was being just like Lo, and Lauren seemed a little embarrassed by it, but I thought it was so funny and cute and totally Lo. I really loved that.
Lauren was like, Lo, we do not behave like this on the hills. We are highly paid reality stars. And Lo's like, I'm gonna snort ginger juice up my nose if I want to, Elsie.
I know Lauren always seems to like to preserve her dignity.
She's very self-conscious about being perfect. But I feel like that's almost part of her brand now, is kind of being perfect. Not in an obnoxious way,
right,
like some
absolutely.
Celebrities, but just like detail-oriented and everything in place. But they do some gossiping about Jen Bunny.
Yes.
But Lo and Jen Bunny, I think, are like mortal enemies, right?
Well, I think they used to be friends too. I think when they hung out in high school, they were all like best friends forever. And then whatever happened in the thing we don't know about separated all of them. And so, yeah, they're mortal enemies. But we all know that Jen Bunny loves the drums. And whatever happened, I'm sure it was her fault, because she, as we will see later as well, she's really good at creating drama. But it never works out in her favor. So I don't know why she always does that. She's always the one who ends up getting ostracized. So Lauren says, I have no new friendships to destroy. And Lauren decides that she wants a few good friends instead of fake friends. But it's hard to find sincere friends in LA. And then comes this moment that my eyes rolled so far back in my head. This fake
we must believe it. We must believe in this moment.
No, Jim. This is so fake.
I'm putting on my blinders that I stole from a horse that was walking down the street, and they're on now, and I have blinders, and I believe that this scene is authentic as crap.
Lo has the guiltiest look on her face, and it, with pretend casualness, says, who's moving into your apartment when Heidi moves in with Spencer? She can barely keep a straight face. Worst acting ever. And Lauren goes, what? And opens her mouth and looks so fake confused.
No.
Yes,
Jen.
It
was breaking news to Lauren Conrad, Susan.
And says, I know she's crazy in love, but not that crazy. And
That's a good line.
And Lo says, awkward.
Shows them walking down the street for like 1,000 years.
They must not have had enough to fill up that episode, because that was the longest walk ever.
It was exhausting. I was like, at least put your flip-flops on. That's a long journey.
It's a very long journey. Does this episode of The Hills pass the Bechdel test?
Quick refresher, since we have so many brand new listeners this week, welcome to all of you. I'm going to tell you about the Bechdel test and why we check up on it like Beyonce every episode. It was a test made for film in the 80s, I believe. It originated with a cartoon, but basically you ask 3 questions of a film or some kind of work. First question is, were there 2 or more named female characters in any scene of this episode?
Yes, Jim.
Oh, it's looking so good right now. The future is rosy. Second prong of the test is, did these named females speak to one another?
Why, yes, they did, Jim.
Oh my gosh, we're so close to perfection. And the third and final prong of the Bechdel test is, when they're talking, is it about anything else besides boys?
Just barely.
Just barely.
Really, just when they were talking about Jen Bunny at the end, and maybe at the beginning when they were talking about about low in their friendship. So that was about it, but it counts.
Yeah, I guess it counts. As long as you don't do it by scene, then it totally counts.
Oh, it was definitely mostly about boys, but, the fact that any episode of The Hills passes the Bechdel test, I think is shocking. I would not have expected that so many episodes would pass it when we started that, to be honest.
Well, we've been over this before, and I think it's a very progressive show from a casting standpoint. I mean, you've got Lisa Love, who's a badass. You've got Kelly Catrone coming up, who, no matter how you feel about her, is a super strong, powerful woman. You have all these women as the main characters. It's going into their workplaces with them. Just a lot of things that you really don't see. And it's not the silly, like, Real Housewives, like, oh, here's my new jewelry line, or, whatever they always try to do. Winners of the week.
This was kind of more of a loser of the week, honestly, but I would say my winner of the week is Lo. She's brand new onto the scene. We're going to be seeing a lot of her, spoiler alert, over the next few seasons. And I thought she made a great debut.
She really did. She made a splash. She looked good. She sounded good. She seemed genuine. We kind of knew her from the past, so she wasn't like a brand new, like a Derek, just thrust into the scene from Central Casting.
Jem, I don't think we'll be seeing Derek again.
Aw, but I love him.
Then you can watch Baby Daddy.
I have to watch Baby Daddy.
On Netflix now.
So my winner of the week was Elodie, who I deeply love and adore, and I just loved how she sits and listens to Heidi, but gives all the proper responses, like, you're a stupid idiot, but in a normal way, but not too polite. And her eye rolls are just legendary.
Jem and Susan's funniest moments. That dovetails nicely with my funniest moment, Jem, because it is Elodie's eye rolls.
Oh, that's a good one.
And just all her reactions to everything in that scene was pure perfection. I enjoyed it so much. I definitely rewound and watched it again because I enjoyed it so much. It was so funny, and I literally laughed out loud.
Did you LOL at the funniest?
Literally LOL'd. What is your funniest moment, Jem?
My funniest moment was the ginger going up Lo's nose, but I don't feel like it had a lot of competition. Like, it was really the only genuinely funny part of the episode, and it wasn't really that funny. Like, just because it was Lo made it funny.
Yeah, there wasn't an episode that had a lot of funniest moments to choose from, that's for sure.
There are some people in LA that are... There are some people in LA that are... There are some people in LA that are...
Jem.
These episodes are just turning into like one long pratfall.
I mean, last time it was so much of a pratfall, we had to name the episode Pratfalls.
That is true, we did.
But I would say my pratfalls of this week is Spencer conning Heidi into moving in with him.
It's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, for 1 minute she was arguing against moving in with him, and then by the end of the scene, she was like, how are we going to tell Lauren, kind of thing. It's like, okay, how did that happen?
My pratfall was a pretty good one as well. Spencer was not alone in his pratfalliness in this moment. But remember when, I guess it was the scene where he mentioned first moving in and they're in the clothing store? They're doing the, like, awkward, excessive PDA in the clothing store where they're, like, kind of hugging and, like, pushing each other, like, affectionately. And it's just like, ooh, like, what are you, 16 and on your first date to the mall? Like,
yeah.
Stop doing weird crap. Like, just, hold hands or something. And it was just so pratfallian.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the word in the dictionary. You can look it up.
Pratfallian. Will there be a picture of Spencer in the dictionary under pratfallian?
I hope it will be the one of him where he looks like Santa Claus that we posted on Twitter. As an obsessive speller and grammarian, it drives me nuts when I write down pratfalls because we spell it with 2 T's since that's his name. But the real word pratfall has 1 T. And every time I see it, I just, I feel that.
The shriveling up of your soul at spelling.
Yes, the selling of my soul. I've sold my soul to the spelling devil for this show. Try saying that 10 times fast, Susan.
Emails, tweets, and Instagrams. Oh my!
The past few days have been insane because some sort of streaming service in the UK called Hayu, Hayyu, which I think might actually be a Japanese service. But anyway, they have every episode of Laguna Beach and the Hills. So all of a sudden, our feeds are all UK all the time, binging the Hills, living life, the life I want to dream of living right now. So all of our social media has been crazy, and we want to give a warm welcome to all of our new listeners from the United Kingdom, but we'll never forget our originals from that part of the world. We love you, Naomi Marley and Ashley O'Calley, who's the girl about Cardiff. So UK stuff's happening, and then we've got a lot of Hills babies on the way that we have not talked about. So do you want to do a quick run through of who's preggers?
Everybody?
Yep, the end.
No, Audrina just had a baby. Whitney Port is pregnant. Lauren, of course, is pregnant. I think we did talk about that. Maybe, I don't know. Jason Waller's wife is pregnant. And of course, Heidi and Spencer are pregnant, which everyone knows about that because they've been blasting it everywhere more than anyone in the world has ever blasted that they are pregnant.
And Lo Bosworth came out about her mental health struggles, so look that up. We mentioned hashtag the Hills Convention earlier. This was the brainchild of comedian Seth Thomas, who's part of the duo The Defiant Brothers out of Second City. And a friend of Seth, her name is Haley, who's also a really great host, a podcast called Tender Lovin' Conrad. And we just found out about this recently. These are two of our very favorite new listeners and friends. And they have been hard at work with us planning the Hills Convention, which is probably coming to you in like the year 2021. Seth even has a shirt on today that says hashtag Team Elodie. And it's getting real, guys. So I think that our panel reunion, with or without Lauren, could go down at the Hills Convention. Heidi and Spencer have been furiously liking all of our tweets lately. They've been getting really involved with us on social media. When posed with the question of whether or not he would like to participate in hashtag the Hills Convention, Spencer Pratt replied with a resounding no way. Or never.
Never.
He said
It's
never.
actually never, Jim. I actually thought that was more in relation to the Team Elodie t-shirts, but who knows? To be clear, hashtag the Hills Convention is a pipe dream, and Jim was mostly just kidding. Just to be clear.
Earmuffs, Seth Thomas, earmuffs.
Don't start booking your flights to LA in 2021.
What if we go to the building where Ledoux used to be and have it there? I think that's the best plan.
I'm pretty sure someone already suggested that on Twitter, Jim. Stop trying to steal other people's tweets.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And someone said we should have it at Don Antonio's, which made me laugh so hard.
I mean, Don Antonio's would have to be the best place to have it.
Oh my gosh, can we go there right now or to some Mexican restaurant? Because that sounds delish.
Thanks for listening to Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast. You can reach us by email at wordsunspokenpodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at The Hills Podcast, and on Instagram at Words Unspoken Podcast. Our website is www.wordsunspokenpodcast.com.
And don't forget to like our Facebook page, Words Unspoken Podcast. And if you like us, friends, rate us 5 stars. If you don't like us, don't rate us.
We would also love a review if you had time. Reviews are a great way to help other Hills fans find us. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
You and all your pretty little friends up in the hills where the party never ends. Your schemes and your dreams when you're whole and you're broken. I'm telling all about it in my words unspoken.
A review is a great way to help other... A review is a great way to help... Blah. Okay. A review is a Stop. Reviews are a great way to find other Hills podcasts. Why can't I say this right? Reviews are a great way to help other Hills fans find us.